Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino and Aaron Zaretsky reporting for Vibe 105 with a Sports VIBEtalks segment where we're going to be talking about all things basketball. To help us out today, we're happy to be joined by our guest. He's been a guest here before. He is a basketball analyst, former player, Warren Ward. How you doing, Warren?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Good. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, no problem, man. And Warren, this whole NBA is going to be started there. But before we get into that, like the pandemic going on, like how you been holding up during this time?
Honestly, I've been good. Not much has changed for me. Before this, I was pretty much working in the same field, which is, for myself essentially. So things have been great. This time allowed me to kind of slow down and build out some things that I want to do for myself. So this has been a useful time for me for sure. And
Aaron,
everyone's
for sure.
healthy, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree
100%.
more. Aaron, you
What
got
about
the
you
first
guys?
question, man.
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
go
doing
ahead.
good, staying safe, and hopefully this pandemic ends soon. Um, and yeah, hopefully, but things are getting better here in the U.S. It's kind of getting worse, but
Hmm.
hopefully everything gets back to what it was prior to the pandemic. Warren, so during this NBA restart, there was a COVID-19 hotline, which is for players to use to report other guys who are breaking COVID-19 protocols. Now, some players have said, don't be a snitch and use the hotline, right, because it goes against the code. But shouldn't players use it if they see others doing suspicious behavior?
mean, the politically correct answer to say is yes, but you're asking a bunch of grown men, millionaires, to not enjoy their lives and being placed in a bubble for like 5 6 months with no form of entertainment. I don't really know if that's feasible. I would compare that essentially to what uh, well, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I would just say it's like a lot of things that have good intentions, but they're not really supposed to be used. I don't think anyone is there. A player is going to snitch on another player per se, or if that's the word that you want to use. Now they should be more cautious because this is their livelihood, and if I was them, I would try my best to be the kind of person who says, okay, I'm here to play ball. In a couple months, then I can go, like, and enjoy myself. But while I'm here, it's business.
Hmm. Business for sure.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that because it's like, oh, because that's the code, right? And it's like, should I do it? Should I not do it, right? But since health, right? So now health is always an important factor in every season, but given the COVID-19 pandemic, like it's really important, right? It's a real vocal point to to not do anything that you shouldn't be doing because not only can it affect you, but it can affect your whole team. It can affect the whole league
for
overall,
sure,
right? Because the
for
NBA, they
sure.
want to do whatever they can, right, to not have an outbreak. Because if there were to be an outbreak, then the season might just end completely, right? So,
Yeah,
and then so much money's involved too.
and I think that I think that last word is the most important about all the money that's involved in this. It probably cost a ton to set up, you know what I mean, like in Disneyland. So I know they don't want to have any outbreaks, but so players should be trying their best to go ahead and not do anything to catch, the COVID-19 virus. So, um, but it comes down to them. You know what I mean, Aaron? And they
Yeah,
have to they have to use their discretion.
for sure. And if you were playing on one of these 22 teams that have been recalled to finish the season in Orlando, would you be comfortable playing in this bubble environment during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, I'd be comfortable, but that's just me. I I think there are some bigger issues going on in the world right now that are, way bigger than basketball, that have nothing to do with the actual sport. I didn't think the NBA should have came back at all. I think we should have focused on the social injustice that's going on right now. And I think the media, I really believe the NBA coming back is probably just, another distraction, because media is not talking about, Breonna Taylor or any of the other people that have been murdered by police, and that have been lynched or killed by anybody in the States, and the list goes on. I haven't heard George Floyd's name in a long time. So I think the NBA is just a pretty much a big distraction. And personally, like, watching it, I'm not as engaged, because I know basketball to me is it's a fan first sport. So the game is not going to be the same, in my opinion. And you're putting a lot of black players on the floor and writing something on the back of their jersey, which, excuse my French, doesn't do shit for the issue. So the issue is that these players, without them on the floor, you have no product, right? All these owners have no product. They can't put anybody else on the floor. You know what I mean? I don't think Kyle Korver is going to get it done. So without these black players being on the floor, what do you have? And writing, all these slogans on jerseys, it doesn't do anything for the actual issue. What needs to happen, and in my opinion, the media needs to concentrate more on showing all people in a much better light. So I guess to answer your question, I would have no problem playing, but I think there are way more important issues that should be addressed.
With Warren Ward here on Vibe 105 Sports Vibe Talk segment. And Warren, you brought up an interesting point there. Like, maybe the media isn't doing their jobs per se, because this is somewhat of a distraction. So what do you think the players should be doing right now in using this platform to bring attention to those injustices and bring attention back to where the focus should have been from before?
Well, I mean, I think you're seeing it. I think you're seeing a lot of the players, they aren't saying anything else except for, arrest the cops who, shot Breonna Taylor. That's all they're saying in interviews. And I think they should continue to do that. I think they should continue to bring up all the other injustices that, that are going on. I mean, America's going to have, 30 million evictions next month. There are a ton more important things going on in the world other than playing the game of basketball. And I don't want to take away from it. I love the game, but at the same time, I think at this point in time, there is more to focus on. And I would encourage them to use their platform to discuss all those issues, and continue to do it, because it's not just about now, it's about 6 months down the line, because some kid coming up after them is going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right. So
I agree with you there. And now just into this bubble, like, I don't know about the Eastern Conference, because Washington, obviously, I guess it's thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
They're going to win all the games. So looking at the West, it's Portland. That's an interesting team. New Orleans is another team that's slowly gaining more and more popularity and more attention there. And Memphis. So is the matchup everyone wants to see, Zion versus LeBron, the likely outcome, or do you still see Memphis being able to maintain that 8th spot in the Western Conference?
Well, I mean, those teams are 4 games away, so they're going to have to win pretty much all their games, and Memphis is going to have some sort of meltdown. I mean, it is 4 games, and that can swing either way. But I'm going to give it to Memphis. I think John Morant, I think he wants to make the playoffs in his first year, but if they don't, they don't. I mean, I think either matchup will be pretty good. Lonzo Ball is gonna have to start making some layups, but other than that, I think either team is adept for sure.
With Warren Ward here on Vibe 105, I'm Aaron Zaretsky along with Giancarlo Aulino. So of the 22 NBA teams that have been recalled to play again, so with the playoffs going on, starting up soon, if every team stays healthy and there's no COVID-19 outbreak, which team do you see leaving Orlando as NBA champions?
If there's no COVID-19 outbreak, or if there...
if there's no COVID-19 outbreak amongst the players, and every
Okay.
team stays healthy.
Yeah.
Which team do you see becoming NBA champions?
I've been thinking about this, and I think it's pretty wide open. But I can give you at least 3 teams that I think have the best chance of winning.
Okay.
If that's okay, if you guys are cool with that. I don't know if I can pick a winner right now. I can tell you who is the favorite. I think in order, I would say the Lakers, the Bucks, and the Raptors. I would give those 3 teams the edge, and not because like they're the favorites, just because from what I've seen, looking, I mean, Giannis is just, I think he got better over the break, over COVID, and LeBron's gonna be LeBron, and AD is gonna be AD. Don't sleep on the Mavericks. I love Luka, so don't sleep on them. I think their team is good, but the Raptors they're my pick to win the East. I think the Raptors are the best team in the East right now. I think Boston will give them a run for their money, but I think the Raptors have enough, to get that done and to get back to the finals. Now, will they win? I don't know. I know I put the Bucks second, but I still have the Raptors maybe edging them out. So I am a little biased between those 2. So those are my 3.
I like that pick. Hopefully the Raptors can repeat as NBA champions. That would be tremendous to see. I noticed he didn't mention the LA Clippers, who have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Do you see them making a deep run in the Western Conference?
I do see them making a run, but I also know that LeBron is there, and I think LeBron is going to get to the finals, and I think he's going to get his 4th this year. They are my favorite to win. I think with the passing of Kobe Bryant and LA having a up and down year last year and them dominating this year, I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I honestly wouldn't.
Yeah,
but I also wouldn't be mad if the Clippers won. I'd be very happy if they won.
Where are you on that debate? Like, a lot of people are saying, is he still the best in the world? There are a lot of people saying Kawhi Leonard. And do you think LeBron James right now, if he wins this, will get praised more? And then how the media and some of the fans work, will they put him in his legacy up more than AD?
I mean, I'll put it this way. I think AD could have probably the best series. I think AD could dominate these next 3-4 months or however long it is, and LeBron would probably still get MVP over him. I mean, LeBron is everyone's favorite. I think LeBron's longevity puts him up there as the best player, but I'll never say he's better than Kobe or even Michael Jordan. He's not even, in my opinion, not even close. But that's just me, and that's my opinion. I think the media will shine the light on LeBron, of course. But I mean, you got to tip your hat to the man. He's year 17. He is still, 10 plus assists, 25 points a game. He is still as dominant as there is anyone else in the league right now. But, there are some asterisks to me and that's just me and, my opinion from, what I can watch and what I've seen. But yeah.
Yeah, and just bringing that up there, like about Anthony Davis, he can dominate and do all that, but the only thing I haven't heard is a contract extension talk. Like, that was rumored earlier. We haven't really heard that. So let's say this goes south for the Lakers and they get bounced maybe in the second round. Could we see Anthony Davis pack up and leave and maybe go to, I don't know, Chicago or somewhere else in the Eastern Conference?
Well, if I'm Anthony Davis, I'm not leaving LA. I mean, the weather's too good. I have a good situation up there. LeBron has at least another year left in him. So, I mean, why after it took so long for me to get out of New Orleans would I go ahead and depart? I think LA is the best place for him to be. He's going to be he's the future of that team. He's a staple there. He's in probably the NBA's biggest market. So, I mean, Hollywood is Hollywood. I'm not leaving there. I'm not going to New York, Chicago, any of those teams. So, no, I see him staying. I think AD will get his contract extended. I don't see that not happening, and he should get whatever amount, 500 million, billion, whatever the contracts are these days. He's definitely worth the most.
Yeah, I agree there. Aaron?
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you have Warren, I know that you have like your own podcast, your own NBA basketball podcast. Just elaborate more on it, and just in terms of like how it started and like the topics that you cover, and like is it like a weekly podcast? Just if you just expand on it.
Well, due to COVID, we had to shut that down due to some ownership issues, I guess, over it. So that's been on pause for a little bit. But what we do discuss is it's more so and it's more so of open conversation per se. It is scripted. I do produce it. And what we discuss is day-to-day topics, and if we have a guest on, we kind of get their perspective, and we just talk more about the experiences that players have had, and we try and relate that to current players, past players. In terms of the NBA stuff, we give our opinion the same way anyone in sports does.
So it's a nice, good, interactive, right? Engaging with the
Exactly.
audience, right? And
exactly.
That's
So very similar to what you guys are doing with me right now is kind of the same thing. But if we have a guest on, we talk about their journey so far, favorite players, and we try and have some fun with it. But one thing we don't do is we don't critique. So we try not to criticize, and try not to downplay any of these athletes, because I think that's what media does to a lot of players. They judge people that are playing a sport that they can't play, and it's all opinion based. So that's the one rule that we kind of have, and we've tried to stick to that. There have been some very heated discussions on there, but I think the objective of media is to report on the topic. But I think a lot of analysts get away with critiquing players, and they can't dribble the ball to save their life. So that's not something that we tried to partake in, and that's the basis of our pod.
for sure. Like you want to provide the information out there and let the listeners or the viewers make their own opinions from it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Just to be informative.
Exactly. Like there's no way that oh my God, I forget his name now. I see his face. He's on ESPN, not Skip Bayless, or not Nick Wright. Nick Wright's the biggest critique of a lot of guys, but I don't see him out on the floor. I like that. That's always been an odd thing to me. Or even when I would read articles about myself per se, that's always been something that always bothered me, because I don't know how you can write something, but you can't do it yourself. So,
Right. It's kind of like an awkward kind of feeling to it. And it's like, is it really like his opinions are legit, right? Like, does he really have a lot of weight to it, given that, like you said, like he wouldn't play, like he doesn't have that experience like other players. So,
right. So who, who do you listen to? I don't see I don't see doctors, being critiqued by anybody. And the reason why is because you're not a doctor. So you can't critique it. You can't really give, like, you can give your opinion and say, he's a good doctor, a bad doctor, but you can't go in depth as to why and explain and say, this person's good and this person isn't. And like I said, that's something that we've tried to adapt. And I hope other news stations kind of do the same thing, or, any of our listeners, listen and critique, and like, it's okay to give your opinion, but to constantly, be dragging someone down is not something that, we want to partake in.
For sure.
Yeah.
Carlo?
Yeah, with Warren Ward here on Vibe 105 Sports Vibe Talk segment. I'm Giancarlo Aulino here with Aaron Zaretsky as well. And Warren, you were also a player. You spent some time here in the university level. Then you went to go overseas. You played in Germany, France. So what were some of your memorable moments as a player? And I guess what were some learning experiences that helped shape you into that player that you were?
Memorable moments. I have so many. I don't know where to begin. I think maybe one of the better ones is just the friends I've made along the way, and the relationship skills that I've built through basketball. That's probably been the biggest teaching point, because I wasn't just a student, so I had to learn how to do that per se. And as a professional, the same sort of thing. I still have friends that, like I played pro with, even if it was just one season. So that's that's a memorable highlight. I've also dealt with a lot of injuries, so coming back from those has also been one of the highlights for me. Playing for my country, probably the biggest one. Yeah, I would say those three. Playing, getting a chance to play for Canada. I did that twice in the same year, so that was my goal going into university, and I'm glad I did that. Yeah, I would say those three probably the most memorable overall in my experience.
And what would you say is the difference? Because a lot of people, when they have that idea of, okay, I'm going to go to Europe and play basketball, or I'm going to go to Asia and play basketball, what was maybe something you learned around there that, okay, that's not the same as it is in North America? Over there,
no,
the business side's completely different. Like, what was a difference in the way they run things over there?
Well, I can tell you that like there's no safety playing in Europe. Like you need to perform day in and day out. Practices are much more intense than they are here. I think the overall treatment of an athlete is much different. You got to do a lot of things for yourself in Europe. You also need to pay attention to your contracts in Europe more. I mean, that's another aspect. The language barrier is different too, obviously. Depending on the country you go to. It's an overall great experience. I mean, you could be in France one day and be in Belgium the next. Like it's very, it's very accessible. So, and it's beautiful over there. That's another good aspect. But in terms of learning, like I said, I think the biggest lesson especially when I was in France, is how quickly you can go from being like on a high to a low. And then, I was in contract debates and, I was being threatened to be cut, and playing with all that pressure in my mind was you get adept to the business, because in the NBA, if I sign a contract for even if it's 10 days, I'm guaranteed everything. I could be the worst player as long as my name is on that paper. The day after, I could be terrible. I still get my 10 days and I still get paid. In Europe, you sign on the line. If you go there and you're supposed to be a good player and you're not very good, they send you back just like that. So that's those are some of the lessons that players have to learn. And I also think the opportunity to make money in Europe is very undervalued. One of the ways is that you don't pay taxes on your money there. So if I made, let's just say odd number, I made 70 grand or in a season, that's 70 grand with me not paying rent. I put gas in my car, I feed myself, but I pay no tax. So that 70 grand, if you were to bring that back here in euros, you're literally making 130, 140. And not many people are going to make that in Canada, So you're living a very blessed life, and you're making great money that is tax-free. So, I hope not too many people listen, especially the government. I paid my taxes. So I paid my taxes this year. You guys got me good this year. So
yeah,
I think that's something that a lot of people underappreciate. If I was making a doctor's salary in Europe to play basketball, to me, that's better than being in the league. I mean, I don't know. Some people is different. So, but for me, that's a blessing, especially where I come from.
Aaron, any final questions here for Warren?
Yeah, with Ward here on 5105. Yeah, so just talking about like the Euro League, right, and the money. Would you recommend players, I guess, those that are coming out of high school, because with the NCAA, they don't pay their athletes. Would you recommend them to go to Europe and make some money and play, and then go to the NBA? Like, would you have then? Would you prefer guys to go to the EuroLeague instead of NCAA basketball?
Well, I can tell you, if I was to do it over again, I would have probably left high school, went overseas, tried out for a team, see if I can make it. If I get paid 1,000 euros or whatever amount of money it is, I'd have been fine. But if I'm a top 10 player coming out of school or, out of high school, I'm not going to get paid in college. The college is going to make a ton of money off of me. And I want to go overseas because I'm going to do this for 1 year. You playing with professionals and practicing at that level, because every day in Europe, is like a game. Like there's no days off in Europe, and most top competitive teams, you work hard. So a high school kid who has everything over here, probably has a bunch of followers on Instagram. Over there, you're probably a nobody. So I think it'd be also, extremely humbling for the kid. He would learn how to play the game the right way, learn to play at a very fast tempo. You got to do it on both ends over there. So, and you can see that. You can see that in Luka Doncic, how advanced he is, and because he's been playing with pros since he was 13. You know what I mean? So if a kid over here could go there and straight out of high school and play for even 2 seasons, and then go to the NBA, that's definitely going to help you. Now, not all players who play in Europe come to the NBA and turn out to be good, but I don't see anything wrong with someone going over there, coming back here. Like, I think LaMelo Ball is going to do great because he got to go to Australia, play there in that league, which is a tough league, and he did extremely well. I see that translating over to the NBA because NBA is a lot easier to score than it is in Europe, way easier to score. So I would, depending on, who you are, I think it's a good move.
Okay. Giancarlo, back to you.
Yeah, and Warren, I guess on this topic of basketball, before we wrap up here, Mount Rushmore of basketball. Everyone has their own unique perspective on who should be there. Some guys like the big man in the top 5.
Yeah.
Who do you have if you were to pick a top 5? Who would be your top 5 players to step on the court?
Man, this is obviously a hot debate for a lot of people. So in order, Mount Rushmore is 4, but I'll give you 5, no problem. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. This one's always tough because but I think the greatest power forward to ever play basketball is Tim Duncan. I really do. Kevin Garnett is up there. Kevin McHale is up there. Olajuwon is up there. But I'm gonna go with Timmy D because of what he's done, how long he did it for. And you see the Spurs now; they're not the same team, and it's only been 2 years since he left. I think 2 or 3 years maybe. And then obviously 5 is Shaq. I don't think there's another center we're gonna see like Shaquille O'Neal. So those are my top 5 of all time.
That's a good one.
Yeah, really good one.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at 5 players to represent everything to do with basketball, I don't really see a better 5. I mean, you can poke holes in a lot of guys. Even Steph Curry, you could probably poke some holes in terms of who's better than who. But those guys, I don't think there's any holes or any argument that they're not upper echelon.
Yeah, agree with you there. Warren, before we wrap up here, as we close out this Sports VIBEtalks segment, how can our listeners follow you on social media?
You can follow me, Warren Ward 10, Instagram. Twitter is Warren's _world 10. Those are my 2 handles that I use the most. Follow me, hit me up, and you'll see a lot of things that I'm doing on there.
Sounds good. Well, Warren, on behalf of me and Aaron, we'd like to thank you for sharing your time and coming on Vibe 105 to talk NBA and all things basketball, sharing your top 5, and we wish you all the best.
Same. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Anytime. I'm always here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe, and hopefully we can do this again down the road.
Yes, sir.